Hello, gathered friends. I'm Roar Nuva, and welcome to Bionicle Deep Dive, where we analyze the tropes, characters, and lore of LEGO Bionicle. In an earlier video, I talked about how the Piraka, the villains of the Voya Nui arc, were all written such that their characters were almost complete inversions of the tropes and personalities we've seen in the Toa of their respective elements. In this video, as requested by several people in the comments of that first one, I'm going to be taking a similar look at the Baraki, the deep-sea villains of the Mari Nui arc, as this idea of them subverting the tropes shown in the Toa also applies pretty well. And what's great is that they subvert these themes in very different ways than the Piraka did, showing how rich the thematic associations of the Bionicle elements are that they can be subverted from multiple different angles. Let's dive right into it. So, each of them goes about their subversion in slightly different ways, unlike the Piraka, who in most cases were just complete inversions. Three of them, Piraka, Kalma, and Elik, each embody personality traits that are the opposite of the typical Toa of their color. In particular, Piraka and Kalma each more closely resemble the archetypes of the opposite element. The other three, Takedox, Mantax, and Karapar, do fit more closely into some of the themes of their element, but subvert them by embodying them in villainous ways, often undermining the virtue that their element's traits usually possess. So let's go through each of them and look at how they play with their elemental themes. Piraka was the white-colored Baraki, and so can be considered the stand-in for the ice role. Toa of Ice are typically very cool-headed, very logical, and rarely act on emotion, preferring to think logically before taking action. They do have emotions, very strong ones, but they tend to keep their feelings to themselves and have an icy, mysterious demeanor as a result. Piraka was the complete opposite. You always knew what he was feeling, and it was usually rage and or hunger. He was prone to violent mood swings and would even attack his fellow Baraki at the slightest provocation or challenge to his leadership. In fact, in many ways, Piraka's personality fits the archetypes of fire, the opposite element to ice. He is, after all, a hot-headed, passionate leader personality who has immense charisma and tactical knowledge when not driven insane by rage, which is a typical Toa of Fire to a T. He even had, red highlights on his set, which were totally his natural markings. Yep, absolutely not bloodstains around the shark-themed character's jagged jaws. No violence to worry about here, parents. And in fact, this continues to the red Baraki, Kalma. While the red Toa of Fire are passionate, emotional, and sometimes hot-headed, Kalma is consistently depicted as cold, calculating, and almost emotionless, much like the exterior persona of Toa of Ice. Heck, one could even interpret his three eyes as similar to the three-eyed scope on Kopaka's mask. So, with Piraka and Kalma, we see that each of them embodies a crueler interpretation of the personality of the opposite element to their color. But the other Baraki play with their elemental themes in different ways. Elik, the green Baraki, fills in for the air-themed role. Now, Toa of Air, generally speaking, are lighthearted and easygoing. They tend not to worry about things, and aren't easy to get angry most of the time. On the other hand, Elik's defining core trait is his paranoia and nervous sensitivity. He had a deep distrust of those around him, contrasting the way Lematorn emphasized trusting their comrades above all else. If Elik thought he was being betrayed, he would lash out instantly and violently. Now, moving on to Takedox. Takedox was a deep subversion of Toa of Water's strength of emotional connection. Both Takedox and the other Toa of Water, particularly Gali, had keen senses of emotional awareness to the emotional states of others and how to communicate smoothly. But while Toa of Water typically tended to use this for peacemaking and pushing those around them to be better, Takedox was a manipulator who used others to his own ends so he didn't have to get his hands dirty. Gali, for example, was often described as being able to sense what her teammates were feeling and say exactly what they needed. Takedox, on the other hand, used his hypnotic eyes to entrance his victims into doing what he wished, and those he didn't control he applied leverage to in other ways. Although Water valued unity and team cohesion, Takadox was a traitor who attempted to sell out his comrades for his own gain multiple times. Toa Water tended to have a calming presence, while Takadox was noted as being unsettling even by Baraki standards. Mantax, the black-colored Baraki, played with the quiet and thoughtful nature of Toa of Earth. Both tended to rarely speak unless they had something important to say, and would spend much of their time contemplating things. Mantax even buried himself underground as his hunting method, so he seemed like he very much played straight the Earth characteristics. But while Toa of Earth's quiet demeanor tends to be a stabilizing energy for the team, Mantax's secretive and plotting nature was deeply divisive. Even back when they ruled as the League of Six Kingdoms, he kept his realms and his strategies secrets from the others, and in many ways was only marginally part of the team. He long held the theory that one of the Baraki betrayed the others to the Brotherhood of Makuta, and searched in secret for evidence of this. When he discovered this, he used the Mask of Life and the knowledge of the traitor to leverage the other Baraki, nearly tearing the team completely apart, which is completely unlike a Toa of Earth, who tend to be among the most reliable and steady members of their group and contribute well to team cohesion. In essence, he takes these core attributes of Toa of Earth and then spins them in a villainous way. Now, Karapar continues this trend of having typical traits of his elemental color role, but subverting them in evil rather than heroic ways. Toa of Stone are known for being very direct, strong, and practical. They tend not to be particularly deep or abstract thinkers, preferring to be grounded in very concrete things. That doesn't mean they aren't intelligent. In fact, they tend to be incredibly smart and creative tacticians, but their focus is always on practical problem solving, with a slight penchant for smashing and explosions. Karpar possesses many of these traits. He's very much the muscle of the Baraki and focuses on brutal, overwhelming power when solving his problems. He used to have a much more strategic mind when he was a conqueror, but centuries of being hypnotized by Takadox made his mind not as sharp as it once was. While Toa of Stone have immense physical power, they never stoop to the dumb brutality that Karapar does, and in many ways he is what they might be if it weren't for their dependability and practical intelligence. This has been my look at how the Baraki subvert the tropes associated with the Toa of their respective colors. What do you guys think? Do you agree that they fit this theory, or do you have other interpretations of their characters? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you haven't already, check out my video where I give a similar breakdown on how the Piraka are the thematic opposites of Toa. See you guys soon. Take care, my gathered friends.